Hey guys, I wanted to show you all the inside of this Onan Microline 4000 carb. I think this is also called the Onan 4000 KY series carburetor. And I wanted to show you how I got mine clean. I know there's a couple videos on here. This is going in a little bit more detail, I think, than some of the other videos. And I kind of have it apart. I want to show you some things of some details of this carburetor. First off, I think to get this out of the Onan, there's two 10mm bolts here that kind of you have to get in from the air cleaner side. Once you loosen those two bolts, there are two washers on the end of those bolts, so be careful when you pull those two bolts out, and they're very hard to get out. You might want to use like a small mirror so you can see. But when you get those two bolts out, there's a couple things you got to do to get this carburetor out. There's going to be linkage on top, and there's going to be a linkage to the choke, and there's going to be a linkage to the throttle, and then there's going to be a spring on the throttle. But the way to get it out is once you get the two bolts out, you kind of have to push the carburetor against the air cleaner. It's got some foam around it, and it'll go in about maybe a 1/4 inch, and that's going to be enough to clear. You can see this this side of the carb. So this is either going to be sticking out or the choke's going to be sticking out, and you need that 1/4 inch to get it out. So when you're going to kind of get the two bolts out, you're going to push this back against the foam, and it's going to allow you to slide it out, and then you're going to tilt it up, and then you're going to do it like this, and then you're going to be able to get these linkages out. And once you get it out, you'll be able to see how this carburetor works. Now, I have mine apart to show you here a couple things. And one of them is this, everybody talks about this altitude adjustment. Really what, someone said in another video, this is a metering device, and it is. And you can see in there, hopefully the sun's not too bright, but really there's a needle valve in there that all this does is let more fuel in or out depending on which way you turn it. If you turn it to the right, you're going to get less fuel in. If you turn it to the left, you're going to get more fuel in. Now you can get this off. There's this plastic cover comes over top of it, and it's real tricky, and you got to be careful. But if you get a flat blade screwdriver under there and you go around the edge of this circle here, this will pop off. And I'm not condoning this, but I would recommend leaving it off. That way you can get to adjust this in a much better way than you could if you only had this on there, because it's a limited adjustment on there. But what happened was I ordered a replacement carburetor, and the problem is this adjustment was in way too far. So even if I turned it all the way to the left, I still couldn't get enough fuel in to start the generator. So I had to take this off and then do some fine adjusting. But I heard a couple different things. If you want to get some rough adjustments in there, you turn this in all the way, and you could back it out either a turn, or I heard some people say back it out 2 turns, and then that should give you a good starting point. And that's true. I think mine was 2 turns. I had to turn it out, and then I was able to get the generator started, and then I was able to fine tune it. Remember, the more you turn it to the right, it's going to lean it out, and if you turn it to the left, it's going to make it more rich. So if your carburetor is backfiring and popping, most likely it's running too lean, and you want to turn it to the left until that slows down, the popping, till it stops. And then when you put a full load on it, you might need to adjust it a little more, maybe get a little more fuel in there to handle the full load. And then once you kind of get that happy medium, you could either put this back on or just leave it off. What I wanted to show you was inside this carb. Everybody talks about this jet here, and just so you guys know, this is the bottom. And you don't need to take the carb off technically. You can take a 3/4 inch wrench and you could put it through here, and then you can get this in there, and then you turn it, and then you can loosen this up and then just pull it off, and then the bowl pulls off. The problem with that is your carb still is in and the bowl's off. And what happened with mine is this rubber gasket down here fell off. So super hard to put on when it's in this position, because that rubber gasket just wants to fall down. So as long as your gasket stays up there, you can get to the main part of this. And a lot of the carb problems are these two pieces right here. And I just wanted to show you all the components of this, because I want to tell you a little story of what happened to mine. When I bought the generator, it was viewed as not working and it needed a new carb. And little did I know that someone was in the carb before and I'm going to show you the part that they forgot to put back in. But so this here is your solenoid. So what happens is when you turn the generator on, it applies 12 volts to the positive, and then the negative wire there is connected to the ground. So, and what it does is it pushes this sucks in, and that basically allows fuel to go through the carb. So a lot of people, their plunger gets stuck. Like if you have gas, old gas, it sticks and it might gum up and it won't push that down, so fuel never gets in and then it never starts. So that's one of the problems. And just so you all know, there is an aluminum gasket that goes in between this part and this part. So make sure you have your gasket there. Make sure you put your plunger in. Okay, now this is what I've heard is called the main jet. And if you can see, there's little holes that go around there. And they get gummed up too. So what you need to do here is clean out these main jets. And you could use, anything that is kind of stiff and maybe metal or wood. You can probably even get through there. Or you could use an air hose and try to blow that out. But you can see this here. Really, if all those are clean, then this jet's pretty clean. And then, these two get kind of screwed back together. And one thing to note here as well is there's a copper gasket that goes on top of here. So, got to make sure you have these gaskets on. And then, as far as cleaning this out, if you're taking this all the way apart, you can unscrew this. You just have to be really careful with what I said before about knowing how far in this is, because you got to put it back in. But if you take that all the way out, you can clean the needle, you can clean the seat inside there, and then obviously you want to clean the bottom of the bowl. So that's how you'd put that in. And then this goes just, the way this kind of goes is when you put the bowl back on, you put this back up, and it screws into this part right here. But here's two pieces that I didn't know until I got this rebuilt carb or this used carb or new carb, whatever it was. I got it off of eBay. There's another jet, and I had no idea. But this jet here, look at all the holes in that jet. Let me see if I can see all those holes in there. So there's a good chance that this jet is clogged up as well. Now this jet goes up in here. And this is why I would recommend removing the carb, because I doubt that you're going to get this jet out when the carb's on the generator. Now you can, but I doubt it. And then that goes back in there, and I'd have to press that back in. And so it might come out with a pair of needle nose pliers. You might, if you had it up in the carb, you might be able to get a pair of needle nose pliers on it and get it out. But the only way I knew this was in here was because this particular carb, it was sitting kind of in there cockeyed, and I was like, boy, that's kind of odd how it's just sitting in there. And then it came out. So that's why this new carb didn't even work. But it opened my eyes up to the old carb that I had in there. The original carb is this was probably dirty up in there. And you can see there's a lot of holes in there, a lot of metering holes in there. So this is a part that no one explained. I haven't seen on any of the other videos with this carburetors. There's another jet up inside there that needs to be cleaned as well. And you could probably clean that with possibly air, maybe spraying it with some carb cleaner and putting your air gun up in there. I don't know how hard or how easy they are to come out, or even if they're meant to come out. I'm not sure. I do know that this one was out, and if you look at the end, it kind of looks like it's just pressed. It might be just pressed in. I don't see any way to screw it in other than maybe just pressing it in. So again, I didn't even know that was up in there. And then when I did clean mine on my existing carb, the generator actually worked. So it cleared up the problem I was having with mine. Because I did go online and look at all the ones that said, hey, just clean this here, or just spray seafoam. And I'm not a real big fan of seafoam, but seafoam possibly does loosen up the varnish, and maybe it does get some of them to run. But I'm a big fan of getting into these and cleaning them the right way. But anyway, the other part I wanted to show you, with one of the reasons why my carb didn't start when I got it, was this gasket here. So I don't even know what this particular one's made out of, because I don't have the original one, but I think it's aluminum. But it's very important that if you look inside the bowl, there's like a spot, a little indentation where that gasket goes. I don't know if you can see that. well enough because the sun is out, but see that little indentation, and that's where that gasket goes. If you don't have this on here, let me try to show you. I have it sitting in there now. So if you don't have that in there when you put this car back together, these two pieces never fully seat. So this here and this here, the bottom of there, never fully seat together. And that is why your carb won't work right, because you don't have that tight seal that you need when these two pieces seat together. So that's all I wanted to show on this video, is really the inside of this carb. And obviously you can get inside here. You know, some of these are going to come in and the you're going to want to look at the float to make sure, you know, it's not, and then you're going to want to look at that needle valve there. That actually, if this is clogged, you won't get fuel in your carburetor, and that does happen. So the fuel comes in there, and then it kind of, the float's used to open and close that opening right there. And so, you know, a lot of people, you want to look inside there. A lot of people, you know, their float's either messed up or it's gunked up in there with varnished fuel. So that is all the more reason why I like taking these apart. They're not the easiest things to get out of the generator because of how you got to push it to the left and then pull it and then unhook the linkage. But if you can get yours out, it's well worth it to get inside here and clean everything and put it back together. Okay? Hope this video has helped someone.